Last week was the balance patch, and somehow, some way, Spear Chrono not only made it out, but was even stronger after the balance patch. And it's not the damage that's so busted on it, it's that pulsing CC. I mean, that thing is insane. And now you have the might, now you have the alacrity. Hey, you're one of the best Roman classes right now. Chrono, Spear Chrono, hey, it's walking through almost everything. And that's fine by me. And then the WvW Rush happened. And I didn't really plan on making a lot of content for that week because I figured most of the fights would be cloudy. They wouldn't really have an actual start or an actual end. And I didn't have a lot of interest in making anything. But I had one really good night. A lot of good fights, a lot of different kinds of fights, and a lot of different things I could talk about. And I'm not talking about just the combat itself, but all the other things that go into roaming. Where to find fights, how to approach fights, which target priorities are, where you're fighting, kind of how to position yourself depending on where you're at. There's a ton of little things that go into roaming that aren't necessarily just about the combat itself. So I figured this was a good opportunity to talk about that kind of stuff, because this is basically from 2 hours. Now, this is a really good night. This isn't what every night's going to look like, but it's at a pretty short time frame. I can show you what it's like to run back from spawn and try to find your next fight, because I run back from respawn all the time. But yeah, I feel like it's a pretty good opportunity to show some things I don't normally talk about. And also, Shadowplay is absolutely just nuking itself. I don't know what's happening with it, so some of the clips are kind of skipping around a little bit. We're going to try to work with it. They're not that bad. But I hope you enjoy the video. I hope you learned something, and let's get into the good stuff. After waiting in an extremely long queue, I finally make it to the Alpine borderland. Now, while I was in queue, I was looking at the map, seeing how active the map was. Now, normally, if you see any of the south camps, so I'm talking, southeast, southwest, or, middle south camp, held for more than 6 or 7 minutes, the map probably doesn't have a lot going on, because those camps always flip constantly. And as I load into the map, I see that every single camp down here is red, and they haven't been held for that long. So I know there's a lot of red players here, and I want to try to catch them in the middle of any fight. I see that there's 2 tags up at the north, and I'm not necessarily looking to gank any sort of Zerg players, right? But I do want to go and place myself in between, maybe where a Zerg fight is happening and the players respawn. That way I can get some of the roamers, right? Because the roamers are always attracted to Zerg fights, and if they die, they're running back. So I want to kind of intercept that, and GvG Island is the perfect place to do it. Here I run into a Willbender and a Connie Berserker. Now the Willbender keeps running and leaves me with the Connie Berserker, which is fine. I decided to go for some damage pretty early on. Now normally I wouldn't do this with any kind of Berserker build because they have a ton of invuln with Berserk stance, but I see that he goes in and out of Berserk, so I decided to go for another Spear 5. I'm able to land some decent damage, and he also pops Endure Pain. So now the only invulns he should have left is going out of Berserk stance, which he uses right there. Now I'm in a decent area to kind of down this guy, but then a Reaper joins the fight, and now the Willbender is actually joining the fight. So I'm using this down state as bait pretty much. As soon as they get close to him, consolidating all my damage on all 3 players, and I'm able to down the Willbender and almost down the Reaper, but he has Shroud up, and that is okay. He's going to make some distance, and I'm going to leave him alone. I'm not worried about chasing the Reaper. I'm not going to catch him. I'd rather just consolidate my damage on both the downs, confirm those, and then we can worry about the Reaper later. Now, because this place is a high traffic area, I know that there's probably more coming, so I want to kind of keep an eye out, but this Reaper is back on me. Decide to pop my invuln to get my Connie Clear mantra up. That way I can clear either weakness or chill or anything like that. And then my cooldowns are kind of low. I make some distance, kind of playing safe right now, but I have my heal up, and then I have my spear burst up. This guy has low shroud, so I feel pretty confident in committing a decent amount of damage to him. I'm able to down him with that Spear 5 CC into the Spear 2 F1. And that is our first fight of the night. A few minutes after that fight, something interesting pops up in map chat. Now this guy calls out that they're hitting Southeast Bay with a Kata from ruins. He doesn't say which ruin specifically, but I know that if he's calling out the right siege equipment, you can only hit Southeast Bay from one ruin. And it's the Coliseum looking one, with the thing in the middle, and it's got the stairs around it. You'll know what I'm talking about. I can't remember the name of it, but we're heading straight for it. He also calls out, there's 2 reds, so I know it's a 1v2, and I know they're red. So that tells me 2 things. 1, most of the players from red are going to be coming from my south, and 2, it's just a 1v2, so completely doable. As I run up to it, I see one of my teammates goes down, and then I see it's a power Mesmer. I click on it, I see it's a power Virt, and then I see it's a power Vendi. Now I definitely want to go for the Virt first because it's going to be the most dangerous and probably the easiest to kill. However, while I'm fighting these guys, I want to position myself in a way where I can see both the entrances. That way nobody sneaks up on me while I'm trying to fight both these guys at once. However, luckily for me, I'm able to land a nice continuous split burst on both these guys. I'm able to down them fairly quickly, and the fight is over right then and there. And now I can go in search of my next fight. Now, like I said in the beginning of this video, this one's not really about what I'm doing in the fights. It's everything surrounding the fights. How I'm finding the fights, what I'm doing in between, what I'm looking for, what I'm watching out for, things like that. Now, I originally went to this because somebody called out a kata in a 1v2. Now I'm going to go, I finished the 1v2, I'm going to go find the kata and kill that too for the realm so we can get in that T1 spot. But while I'm doing this, I'm paying attention to the minimap, specifically 2 different things. I'm looking for what has swords on it and where the Doliaks are. Now swords tell you when something's getting hit, but it doesn't tell you how many people are there, if anybody's actually still there. It just tells you that something hit it, I think it's like 3 minutes ago or something like that. But the Doliaks, if they disappear on your map, somebody killed that Doliak. And that's important to know, because as soon as that Doliak disappears, somebody is right in that area. It's almost like a sentry turret, but there's just no red circle on your map. And honestly, I find more fights paying attention to the Doliaks than I do anything else. But I'm running around, kind of paying attention to the minimap, just seeing where I'm at, and I decide to go for the sentry. While I'm standing at the sentry, I noticed there was orange swords at Northeast Tower, and there's also a tag in Red Spawn Tower. This means that any fight that I get is probably not going to get +1 because both servers are occupied. And as soon as I see that Virtuoso, I think it's like Rain of Swords or something, I can't remember the name of it, I beeline straight for it. And as I come up to him, I realize that it's the same players as before. But I'm not going to focus Virtuoso this time. They're probably expecting that, so I'm going to focus the Vendi first. Now this works out extremely well for me because I'm able to down the Vendi extremely quickly with that Spear 5 Sun. Honestly, man, it's so good. It's so good. And now all I'm left with is this Virtuoso. Now I'm able to do a ton of damage pressure early on, and I see that he is Spear and Greatsword, so I know he's going to do a ton of damage. He just used both his invuln, so I know he doesn't have a lot of survivability left, but I still have to play kind of conservative with my cooldowns. I'm making distance, I'm using my stealth, and I tried to jump on him here, but he had that Spear 3 up. But as you can see here, I'm at pretty much at full health, and then I am almost immediately at not full health. And that is how Power Mesmer gets you. They're very, very capable of turning around a fight extremely quickly. But I'm able to just kind of win a very close 1v2 with these guys, and that is the start of the feud for tonight. Now, when I say feud, it's not a BM thing, right? It's just these guys want to kill me, and I want to kill them, and they're going to run at me all night. I'm going to run at them all night. And that's exactly what I want. After that fight, I decide to walk over to the red side of Alpine Borderlands. While I'm doing this, I'm paying attention to my minimap. I see that the camp that we own has swords on it, so there might be people there. I also see that I have 2 tags in front of hills with orange swords on them, and they're probably fighting green. I see that there's a red willbender right here in front of me, so I decide I'm going to try and open up on him with a Spear 2 on the mount so I can get clarity, but unfortunately, he blocks it with Aegis, and I decide to go to my defensive set and just kind of wait and see how many cooldowns he wastes. Unfortunately, right now, I'm kind of getting cooked. I'm not playing very well, so I decide to pour it away, use my Mass Viz, and that's when a no-rank Tempest joins the fight. Unfortunately for this guy, he doesn't have any rank. He's probably an easy target, and I decide to go for that. While I'm doing damage to the Tempest, I also do a ton of damage to this Willbender. I'm able to down the Tempest and the Willbender almost at the same time, and that is just unfortunately how it goes for that no-rank guy. He's just an easy target. But while I'm cleaving these guys out, paying attention to my minimap again, I see that the tags no longer have orange swords on them, and they're moving north, so I'm pretty confident that nobody's going to come at me from the north side across that bridge. While I'm cleaving, I see that this guy is coming from the rocks over there by the tower, and before I engage on him, I go ahead and check through the doorway at the camp and make sure nobody's coming towards me that way, and then I feel confident in taking the 1v1 with the mech. But while I'm fighting this guy, I'm paying attention to what's around me at the same time. I'm putting myself in a position where I can look through the doorway of the camp, and I'm putting myself in a position where I can look through the rock gap next to the tower. Now, I haven't fought a ton of Spear Engies in general, but I feel pretty confident when I fight them because honestly, I haven't had a lot of trouble with any of them. But I'm able to get this guy down fairly quickly, and yeah, that's just a good showcase of, you know, kind of what I'm looking at in the middle of a fight. Just kind of making sure I know what's going on around me. Now, immediately after that fight, I go and see what's at this camp because Sword's been there for a while. Somebody's got to be here. And it is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people, maybe 7. But I don't care how many it is. I got to jump in. I got to see what I'm doing. And this no rank Tempest is here once again. Man, I'm sorry. I'm honestly sorry. But you got to take every advantage you get. I decided to make the down. I tried to consolidate my damage on top of it, but unfortunately, it doesn't even get close to working out for me. And back to respawn I go. Remember at the beginning of the video, I said I wasn't really planning on making a video. This is one of those clips where I missed recording the front of it because I wasn't worried about making a video. But all I did was continue to split burst Virtuoso. I was able to do some decent damage to him. I decided to go into stealth as I'm jumping up this rock and then jump down. And this actually makes the Vindicator go over the rock, and it's able to separate both these guys. I'm able to down the Virtuoso fairly quickly after this, and it leaves me in a pretty good spot to not only cleave the Virtuoso, but take a good look at my surroundings. We own Garrison, luckily, but that doesn't mean that green players aren't going to come from my north, so I'm kind of keeping an eye out on my back, and I'm cleaving this guy as much as I can. I decide to get clarity on the down as well, and then this Vindicator decides to pour it in on me, and I try to go for a Spear 5 into the Spear 2, Spear 4, but it doesn't do any damage. Now I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know if this guy changed his build, I don't know if I'm playing bad, I don't know if it's a mix of both, but I'm going to fast forward because I tried to fight this dude for like 3 minutes and it wasn't going anywhere, okay? It was not going to happen. So eventually at some point you just got to say, you know what, this isn't worth it, and walk away. Now, like I said earlier, we own Garrison, and during my fight, the tanks had enough time to capture not one, but both spawn towers. Now, here I'm deciding to head north, because I want to check out a couple things. I want to look at Garrison, and I also want to look at both the spawn towers. Both the spawn towers normally are going to have content when they are not owned by the home server, just because they're easy to glide into, and most of the time people want those before Garrison. Now, as I'm walking through Garrison, I see there's a wall down. I'm kind of looking around to see if there's any way somebody got into enter, but I'm not seeing it, so I decided to go ahead and keep making my way towards the spawn tower. As I approach the tower, I see that the Lord is already down. They're already capping the tower. I'm not going to try to make my way up towards the tower and get caught trying to fight the RI Lord and multiple people. Instead, I decided to stay down where the supply depot is, get the clarity on the Quartermaster as soon as the tower flips, and I tried to go for a Spear 5 burst on the Willbender. However, unfortunately, I got caught with the Willbender Spear CC and then the Harbinger Gravwell, but I am able to down the Willbender fairly quickly as soon as I come out of C-Split, and as soon as I down him, I go back towards the supply depot because I don't want to get pushed out of the tower with that Guardian downstate bubble, and as soon as he uses it, I know I'm safe to go for a stomp, and then the Harbinger joins the fight. I'm in my defensive set already, so I decide to stay in it and see how many cooldowns he wastes into the blocks, and as soon as I feel confident, I go for a Shield 5 into the Spear 2, Spear 5, Spear 2 again, and I'm able to down the Harbinger as well. Now, I'm already in the tower, there's no point for me to leave, I have a 5-minute RI that I need to wait on, I just want to see if anybody else is going to fly into the tower and try to fight me. So that's exactly what I do. I wait a little bit and see what happens. After an extremely long 10 to 15 second wait, I see there's players already outside the tower. Now I see there's 2 outside and I see that there's a Deadeye inside. I decide to get the clarity on the Deadeye, but before I commit any cooldowns on them, I want to see who else joins the tower fight. Now I see the Rangers here. I decide to go for some damage on the Deadeye. I missed the Spear 4 because I thought he was going to be in stealth, but I'm able to down both these players extremely quickly, and that is an easy peasy fight in the tower. But that's not really what I'm here for. I want to see if I can put myself on the radar of the enemy team and see how many people will actually come and try to fight me, and see if I can get a really cool fight, or just see how many people I can fight until I die. At least that's the game plan. Shortly after that fight, the Harbinger is back in the tower. I see that he double dodges, so I try to commit some damage. Unfortunately, as soon as I make that decision, the Deadeye starts auto-attacking me from the top of the tower, and the Connie Ranger is back. Now, both of these players didn't enter the tower through the door. They flew in from respawn, and I should have been watching that angle because they can definitely come from that angle. And because I wasn't watching it, it kind of threw this fight for me, because if I knew they were coming, I definitely would have focused this Ranger first and then the Deadeye. Unfortunately, I committed a lot of damage to the Harbinger for pretty much no reason, and I didn't have a lot of follow-up for the Ranger or the Deadeye, and it cost me the fight. Immediately coming out of respawn, I see 3 players, 2 Willbenders and a Vindicator. Now, I missed the dismount spear, and I do something kind of dumb here where I use both my spear skills and my blink to dismount this Vindicator in hopes that they will jump on me and try to fight me. Now, this does work out. However, I used, you know, my spear cooldowns and my blink, so I'm kind of at a disadvantage. But I'm fighting 2 Willbenders, so I definitely know that I'm playing defensive for the first 15 to 20 seconds, if not longer, of the fight. And once these guys start to separate, I decide to commit some damage on this first Willbender, and I'm able to do some decent damage, try to go for some follow-up damage, don't land a ton, and then I am back into playing defensive. I use that Scepter 2, followed up with a Midnight Signet to get a safe heal off. And then once this Willbender makes some distance, I try to follow it up with some more damage, but he has RF, and now I am back to playing defensive. Now, I'm getting pretty close to the Zerg fight, so my frames are dying. However, I'm still able to down this Willbender, and then once I down that guy, I'm able to down the other Willbender fairly soon after that, just because they have taken damage kind of together. Unfortunately, I was almost going to win this fight, almost got the Vindicator down, and then a support Chrono from the Zerg, I'm assuming, joins, and there's no way I'm going to cleave that. So unfortunately, I am forced to just walk away from the definitely winnable 1v3, but that is okay. That is how that goes sometimes. And because the Zerg is so close, I have like 30 frames, so I want to get away from that as fast as possible. After running away from the 1v3, I decided to make it to the red side of Alpine Borderlands once again. And I was going to go for this Reaper, but he decided he wanted to fight the Ellie. So I try to respect the 1v1s, unless it's Mag Week, of course, because, you know, that's a different story. But there's a Reaper that also wants the 1v1 on the bridge. That's perfect for me. I'm able to spear burst almost his entire shroud away, and then I can follow it up with a shield 5 into a scepter 3 for almost 7k, and follow it up with a nice F1 to finish the fight. Now, I try to let most guys that want a 1v1 res, because, you know, if he wants the 1v1, I'll respect that, right? But as soon as I finish that fight, our boys from before show up. I'm able to dodge the spear CC with my spear 3, and then I know the Virtuoso is near. There he is right there. I decided to go for a Mass Invis and then jump on him with a Spear Burst of my own, and then jump back down behind the hill where I can LOS. And as soon as his Invuln is down, I jump back on him. I'm able to do a ton of damage. I'm able to get this Vindicator kind of low too, but unfortunately, like I was saying before, Mist Week has a lot of Cloud, a lot of players join, which is fun, but a lot of your fights turn into something like this, where you slowly get +1 until all of a sudden you have like 5 players on you out of nowhere. But that's okay, it's just like fighting an EBG. After a few minutes of crying in a respawn because I died, I decided to go to the north side of the map where I can fight some of the green team. Now as I roll up to this camp, I see there's a Ranger, a Reaper, and a Core NG. I kind of hang back while they're fighting the NPCs because I don't want them to rally off of them, and I'm going to stick around this rock because it's kind of a nice area to fight. I can kind of jump up and down on the rock, and it gives me a little bit of LOS, not a lot. I decided to go for a Spear Burst, and I'm able to down the Reaper and the Ranger. And I would have been able to down the Core NG as well, I think, but he had Elixir S, unfortunately. And then he decides to get out of combat. But I'm just going to go ahead and consolidate my damage on the downs and confirm both of them. However, before I can do that, a Hollowsmith, a Warrior, and a Ranger join the fight, or a Reaper, excuse me, join the fight with the Core NG. Now I'm kind of in a weird spot because I don't really have a lot of cooldowns. I really want to get my Mantra Charge so I can clear my Condis, and I make some distance. And I'm going to decide to focus this Hollowsmith because he's going to be the easiest to kill, and he's going to do a ton of damage pressure. So the easiest way to alleviate some damage is to focus the Hollowsmith. I'm able to get this guy down fairly quickly, but unfortunately, I'm just playing on survival mode right now. Not a lot I can do. I'm able to get the heal off, but it's just not enough with all these players around me, and I lose the fight. However, that is bringing us to the end of the video. Now this was another long one. I hope you guys still enjoy that. And this video, I kind of got to focus on some things I don't normally get to talk about. Like I said at the beginning of the video, roaming has a lot to go into it that is more than just what you're fighting. There's things you need to look out for on your map, around you, your surroundings, right? You don't want people to sneak up on you because if they do, that is almost certainly a death sentence. And also just learning how to read the map, right? So we talked about using the Doliax to kind of figure out where people are, looking at swords, looking at OJs, understanding what the map is telling you is super important in roaming. It can help you find fights, it can help you prevent you from getting ganked all the time, and just kind of picking good spots to set yourself up in for fights in general. Also talked about target priority just a little bit, right? Just why you're focusing something, if you need to change it, why do you need to change it, and understanding the advantages and disadvantages of that. It's just going to come with time and practice. Every class is different, especially with Chrono right now, having Spear being so good. As you can see, this party right now is 3 Mesmers. Mesmer's perfectly fine, not good at all right now, I promise. But with all that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something for real. And, you know, just focusing on something different. I also thought it was kind of cool that I could show just one night of fights, right? Just kind of back-to-back fights. Obviously, there is a couple minutes in between these fights because, like I said, I run back from respawn a lot. But I definitely thought it was interesting. Definitely thought it made a good video. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you learned something. And I will see you guys in the next one.